That evening, like any other, I went outside to take out the trash. The streets were pitch black, and there wasn't a soul around. The darkness seemed to have swallowed the streets whole, making them silent and mysterious. The only sound accompanying my walk was the gentle rustling of dry leaves under my feet. Suddenly, I thought I heard a meow coming from somewhere nearby. I stopped, focused, and listened intently. Those clear, loud sounds cutting through the silence of the night immediately grabbed my attention. I took out my phone and turned on the flashlight to illuminate the area around the dumpsters. I circled them a few times, but didn't see anything suspicious. I figured it was just one of the stray cats that often hung around the neighborhood. But as soon as I heard that soft but insistent meow again, it became clear that the sound was coming from inside one of the trash containers. That strange and inviting sound was pulling me in. As I slowly approached the container, I shined the flashlight inside, wondering what kind of cat could be in such a nasty situation. What I saw there absolutely shocked me. At the bottom of the container, nestled comfortably among the garbage, was a beautiful cat. Her big eyes, full of hope and trust, were looking directly at me. She had long, slightly disheveled fur, resembling a fluffy cloud lost in the endless darkness. Hearing me approach, the cat let out a gentle, affectionate purr and began kneading the rag she was sitting on. At that moment, my heart filled with a touching tenderness. I realized I couldn't leave her here alone. Whether she had been dumped by some cruel person or had accidentally fallen in was a mystery. One thing was certain, she had ended up here through someone's carelessness, like a forgotten, unwanted object. As I scooped her up into my arms, I felt a slight tremor, and her warm, loving gaze pierced right into my soul. It was as if she was saying, "Thank you for finding me." That moment would forever remain in my memory as a reminder of how fragile and defenseless those who need our care truly are. Her loving, grateful eyes melted away all my doubts, and I knew I could never leave her back in this cold and cruel world. When I brought her home, I was shocked by what I saw under the lamplight. The cat's once beautiful and lustrous fur was now a matted mess. Huge clumps were practically falling off on their own, revealing her skin. This was a first for me in all my years of volunteering at the animal shelter. Before me stood a living creature resembling a single, tangled wad of felt. I was determined to find a way to help her. Armed with a bunch of combs and grooming tools, I began my arduous task. However, despite all my efforts and the hours I spent, my attempts to even slightly detangle her were completely unsuccessful. Her fur was so matted that all my efforts seemed futile. But Snowflake, the name I gave to this delicate cat, surprised me with her behavior. She didn't resist at all, on the contrary, it was as if she was supporting me. Her quiet purr sounded like a song of gratitude for my attempts to help. As I loosened a clump, she would gently tilt her head and touch my hand with her nose, nuzzling it. This cat was, without a doubt, extraordinary. Her size amazed me. Although she was clearly an adult, her body was so small that she looked like a kitten no more than 6 months old. Her particularly tiny ears, flat nose, and huge, expressive eyes were striking. She looked like a strange mix of Persian and British Shorthair. The next day, filled with determination, I took Snowflake to a professional groomer. Her fur shocked the groomer beyond words. The woman, who had seen many difficult cases in her career, admitted that she was seeing something like this for the first time. Her eyes filled with tears as she picked up her clippers. The grooming process turned into a real operation, requiring patience and skill. We occasionally exchanged glances with the groomer, sharing our mixture of surprise and admiration. After the procedure was completed, Snowflake began to resemble a small dinosaur. Neat tufts of fur remained on her back, while her tail and head retained their fluffy crowns. She looked like a miniature queen of the jungle. Even during the haircut, the cat didn't stop purring, winning the hearts of everyone around her. The groomer remarked with admiration how such a tiny heroine was able to withstand all the procedures with dignity. When I noticed that Snowflake's belly, which had become more visible after the short haircut, was rounded, I realized that something had to be done immediately. Soon we went for an ultrasound, eagerly awaiting what the examination would reveal. And on the screen, as expected, 3 tiny kittens appeared. It turned out that the cat was in the final stages of pregnancy and that the birth was very close. At that moment, I remembered the moment when I first found Snowflake, trembling with fear, trying to take refuge with me. These memories stirred an incredible feeling of compassion within me. How brave she was! Despite the hardships she had endured, Snowflake was courageously preparing to bring her kittens into the world. The thought of a possible spaying at such a late stage haunted me. It seemed too risky and could endanger the life of our brave pet. Therefore, I decided that I needed to focus on her comfort and safety. We bought Snowflake a cute little outfit that gave her warmth and comfort, and then we took her to a pet hotel. This place seemed perfect, a warm corner, caring staff, and enough space to relax. I promised myself that I would never leave her alone, especially at such an important moment. At the hotel, I met other cats whose fates were also full of difficulties. Each of them carried their own unique story filled with sadness, but there was a glimmer of hope in their eyes. This place seemed to bring together all the poor animals, turning them into something bigger, a community that had experienced a lot but had not lost faith in goodness. I started coming to the hotel with volunteers, not only to help Snowflake, but also to support the other pets waiting for their chance to find a home. I wanted to give these animals more warmth and give the hotel the opportunity to become a ragdoll haven for those in need of care. 3 days after my first visit to the hotel, an amazing event happened. Snowflake gave birth unexpectedly. I watched with joy as she sincerely cared for her kittens, trying to be an exemplary mother to them. Everything happened secretly, as if under a veil of secrecy, and her modest family of 3 fluffy creatures, who were suddenly given cute names, Cotton, Snuggles, and Sparky, seemed to appear only for brief moments, as if hurrying to disappear from view. These tiny creatures, who had just seen the world, became an inexhaustible source of joy and inspiration for me. Every day I spent more and more time watching Snowflake gently feed and lick her kittens, pressing them tightly to herself as if protecting them from the whole world. I tried to help her family. I prepared food for them every day, brought fresh milk so that her kittens were always full and happy. Each time a new kitten opened its surprisingly clear and pure eyes, I was filled with emotions I had never experienced before. It was like an avalanche of compassion, love, and care that completely filled my life. During the 3 weeks I spent with Snowflake and her friendly family, every day was filled with magic and discoveries. Every visit to the hotel to see them felt like a holiday to me. The environment slowed down, and the soul was filled with boundless happiness. These little balls of fluff, with their clumsy but very touching steps and unexpectedly funny antics, left traces of joy in my heart. I realized that life is not just about worries and obligations, but also about beautiful moments of happiness that need to be cherished. A special day came, a turning point in the history of the small family. I organized an event called Open House Day. The goal was to give everyone who wanted to the opportunity to meet these fluffy kittens and perhaps become their future owners. I spent hours creating colorful announcements, posting on social media, and attracting the attention of different people. Snowflake and her kittens began to resonate in the hearts of those who were ready to give them a home. Each new meeting with potential owners was not just an acquaintance for me, but also a carefully planned process. I was looking for those who could treat animals with love and responsibility. Finally, with deep relief, I saw that my little students had found their families. Snuggles went to live with a sweet girl named Katie, Cotton became the new owner of an elderly, good-natured man, and Sparky was accepted into a family where there was a growing friend. That was the moment when I realized that my mission had been completed and that each of my fluffy friends was in safe and caring hands. Looking at Snowflake for the last time, I couldn't hold back my tears as they took her away. But these tears were tears of sincere joy. I thought that this little baby was incredibly lucky. Much more than she could imagine. I was sure that real happiness awaited her in her new family. I will remember Snowflake forever because she was that little, star-like cat soul that I managed to save and give a new, better chance at life. Making such a decision was not only right, but probably one of the most important steps in my life. Now I had a new task ahead of me, to continue helping those in need. I began working on a new project dedicated to rescuing other animals, and every day I became more and more aware that every living thing has a story. These stories need to be heard, understood, and supported. That's how my new journey began, filled with hope and anticipation of what the next evening shift would bring me. Taking care of those in trouble has become not just a job for me, but an important part of my existence. I was ready for the new challenges that fate would throw my way. Life is wonderful because there is a small but very significant magic in it. When you open your heart to good deeds and help, the world becomes a little brighter.